No, it's all good. This is probably the cleanest this place has been in a while, which is sad because we still got piles of stuff everywhere. This is for this job. The toolbox needs, well, it has more tools on the outside than it does on the inside. But the little shop is a lot more organized than it has been recently, so it's livable. So let's talk about this first. All right, guys, so welcome back inside the shop for another video. There's a few things I wanted to go over today, address the repair that's going on another EcoBoost. Thankfully, no turbo this time. We're replacing the catalytic converter, and there were a few key parts that we had to special order for this thing. It's kind of turned into a nightmare, have all the parts now, but it's kind of interesting. And then I wanted to take you over to the detail/storage bay and go over a few tools and just a couple crazy repairs that have been going on recently. So first, let's get into this one, show you what we found, show you what we're dealing with. I'm gonna go under the car, try to get you the best view of everything that we can. And this particular repair is a very unique situation. It's something I've never seen quite fail in this way before. So I'm gonna get under there, we'll show you what we're dealing with. Alrighty, so as I stated, we're having more EcoBoost fun. We're replacing the catalytic converter because the flex pipe, which is incorporated into the converter, unfortunately, was bad. You can see the hot side of the turbo right there. There's a V-band clamp that we had to order. It was all rusted, welded shut, so I ended up prying and kind of breaking that off of there. But the cat actually bolts up right to the hot side of the turbo right there with the flex pipe, which unfortunately you cannot get separately. So again, if you've seen the turbo video, that was a couple weeks ago, but we did lower the cradle. Not a lot. You can see the spacing right there. I didn't have to completely remove it, but we dropped it down. There was a cross member right in here. So what happened on this vehicle is there was actually no cat code, nothing like that. Like I had just mentioned, the cat, the flex pipe is part of it. We'll show you the old part, but if you look, it's going to be hard to see. Right up here where the shift cable is, can you see how that's melted? So it actually melted and stretched the cable linkage that goes from the transmission up to the shifter inside the car. So this was actually a recall from Ford, but because it melted, they didn't cover it. So the customer already paid for this once, but she didn't fix the catalytic converter, so it melted a new set. So right there is the third set, if you count the original, which is a revised part for this car. So not only are we replacing the cat, we're also replacing this. Now, these are just some of the tools we were using. Like I said, that is the shifter cable, that's that V-band clamp, and then we had to special order a heat shield for the cat because I'll show you the one right over here. This is the old part. I haven't taken the O2 sensors out yet. I've been soaking them, but you can see the flex pipe is actually attached here. There's no way to, I mean, I guess you could cut it out, but by the time you do that and you get the cradle out of the way, all that stuff, it's not very cost effective. So this car is unfortunately getting a new cat. You can see where someone tried to fix it. And yeah, so all of the hot exhaust gases were coming out of here and melted those shift cables. So that was fun. There's that cross member I was talking about. You had to take the cowl and the wiper assembly off of the vehicle to get at that top O2 sensor. Here is the new catalytic converter and flex pipe assembly. And see, this is the part that failed, which is, this is kind of a crappy design, you know, that it's up there, that's where it bolts right to the turbo, and it's just really hard to get at this to weld in a new piece of flex pipe. So unfortunately, you get the whole cat. And this is actually a Dorman product again, was about 500 bucks, I think, 5 or 6. I checked with O'Reilly's and I checked OEM from the Ford dealer, and it was about $1,500 for that. So Dorman's okay, and we're gonna be putting this one in. So we opted to go with the Dorman on this project, and hopefully this will be buttoned up tomorrow. All right, moving on. So we're over in the detail / storage area of the shop, and I just wanted to go over a few kind of interesting repairs that we've had recently. There's been a lot of stuff in the last couple weeks that I haven't seen before. So I've had a lot of questions as well based on the output on the channel. You know, we usually try to hit around that 1 to 2 videos a week, and lately it's been like every 2 weeks, and that's simply just because the shop's been super busy and I've had a lot of stuff going on. We mentioned a few months ago that the house is for sale. We actually got a buyer for the house. So I've been dealing with all of that stuff, and then next is going to be looking for a piece of land to build our own shop on and everything that entails. So life has been busy between the shop here and then stuff outside of work, obviously. So just bear with me on that regard, you guys. It's not that I'm gonna quit making videos or anything like that. I've just been really busy. That being said, just a few tools and repairs I wanted to talk about. The first repair I wanted to show you, this happened a couple weeks ago. This is a coolant inlet housing, right? Looks like it would be a thermostat housing. This is from a 15 Hyundai Accent. Customer brought this in with a major coolant leak, so just checking everything out. I actually thought it was the radiator hose. This is where the upper radiator hose attaches to this coolant inlet assembly, and then you got a few other ports for coolant as well there. And then there's a coolant temp sensor that actually goes in here as well. So there's a little bit going on with this piece. I believe this line went to the heater core. I don't remember where this one went. Upper radiator hose, coolant temp sensors. So this piece is cast aluminum, right? And this particular piece, you cannot get through any parts stores. So what ended up happening is I took the hose off to inspect this piece, inspect the hose really, because I thought, like I said, the clamp or the hose itself was leaking. No, and it might be kind of hard to see, but do you see that pitting in the aluminum there? There's a couple other spots as well. There's a little one right up there. This whole piece actually just started disintegrating and corroding, and the aluminum, where you see those pits, you can see one right there. It's hard to see, but look in there. It actually completely eroded through the aluminum, and this whole piece was bad. So I called O'Reilly's, got an account there, and I told him what I needed, right? I said, it looks like a thermostat housing, but it's not. It's not a thermostat housing. The thermostat housing for this was on the opposite side of the engine. It was plastic. And he said, nope, I see what you're talking about. It's called a water inlet assembly, and it's aluminum, right? I said, yep. So he says the parts will be 2 days away, whatever. Okay, that's all good. Tell my customer, get one ordered. Shows up with a thermostat housing. And I'm like, this isn't the piece that I need. So we went through that whole rigmarole. The driver actually took this to O'Reilly's, and then they call me to tell me it's going to be $270 and a 5-day wait. And that's not including the coolant temp sensor. And I bought a new one just because, as long as we're in there, this part wasn't expensive. I ended up special ordering this through Hyundai. I think it cost me $70, but it was a week away as well. So this poor customer was without his car for a week because there's not really anything you can do about that. You know, we needed the piece, but I've never seen the aluminum actually corrode all the way through. I mean, this is pretty thick. And so that was kind of disaster number one that I've never seen. I got 2 more for you. The next one is what's left of a caliper boot for a slide pin. This was on a 13 Suburban, and I went to order this boot kit, which, you know, slide pins corrode, they get stuck, and you just replace the boots if you're going to rebuild the caliper. The caliper itself was not seized, and I was able to get the pin freed up, but I wanted to get a new dust boot. 9 times out of 10, you get the whole hardware kit when you get these little boots. Not the case on a 2013 Suburban, apparently. It's not like it's a super common vehicle or anything, but anyway, ended up going through like 4 part stores and found this, and I've never seen one that's press in. So you have to pry this out, and then what I did was take a socket, I believe it was a 17 millimeter, put it on the outside and just press this in to the caliper bracket. So that was kind of interesting. I've never seen a press-in slide pin boot for a caliper before, but see something new every day. And the last one, I'm going to pick on Chrysler because I already hate Chrysler. If you've been on the channel for any length of time, you know as a whole, I'm not a huge fan of the American car companies. There's things I like, there's things that I will tolerate, you know, but in recent years, modern Chevy, modern GM, a lot of the Ford EcoBoost stuff, not a fan of it. And Honda and Toyota are going that way too, sadly, which is, you know, smaller engines, forced induction, just a lot more going on. And we've talked about it before. I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of it comes down to more technology and then also trying to keep the vehicles at an affordable rate. So I get a call from a customer, Dodge Ram pickup 2016 Laramie. Really nice truck aesthetically, you know, it's in good shape. And he wanted an oil change, a rotate, and then a leveling kit installed. So me not thinking, not doing my due diligence, part of this is my fault, but I said, sure, I can do that. 2-inch leveling kit, just a spacer that goes on top of your strut, right? Well, his had air ride, which we're going to talk about here, because First stupid thing Chrysler did. The air ride system on a Ram pickup is a completely sealed system. So it's not like, you would think of a conventional airbag setup where air comes in, goes through a compressor, feeds your bags, everybody's happy. No, this one, when you disconnect the airbags, you have to have a dealer level scan tool, preferably the Dodge scan tool, to fill the thing back up with nitrogen. So the design was basically a strut assembly, but instead of your spring, the airbag was right there and the shock was in the middle, right? On the top of that strut assembly is this little guy right here. You can see there's a nut on the top. This one is broken. It threads into the top of that strut assembly, and this is where your air goes. So this one had a 90-degree angle on the top. I'll actually show you what it looked like because I JB welded it back together just to see, while I waited for the new part, if it would hold. I just wanted to see if the truck was drivable while we were waiting for this piece. It was not. It didn't work. And again, curiosity kills the cat, right? So this sits like this. Here is a similar fitting that I found in this Fiasco. This one isn't quite right, but it's very similar. You can see the 90-degree on the top, and if you grab the bottom and hold it, this actually twists. So when you get the shock assembly back in the car, you can twist this piece and line up the airline, right? So I get everything done, everything's good, other than I know I have to go to Dodge and get this thing recharged. I go to hook the line up on the driver's front, and this top piece just completely falls off, resulting in that. So, not a huge deal. I'm annoyed by this point, but I go to Dodge. Dodge is part of the same company as when I worked at Toyota, so I know a lot of people there. My brother-in-law's a service advisor. I got buddies that work there, and I was like, hey, anybody have one of these little pieces? And nobody did. There were a lot of them, like this one, that's similar but not quite the same. So I go back to the parts counter. He looks it up. Can't get this piece. You have to buy the whole line assembly for like $660. So I was really excited about that. Ended up being able to find just the fitting online, which is great. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who predominantly works on Chryslers, and he said when this system first came out, there wasn't even an aftermarket option for this, so you were stuck buying the whole line. But take a look at this thing. Look at how flimsy this is. The airline and this fitting itself. Like, why is this plastic? In fact, when I got the new one, the aftermarket one, on the box it said built to last out of rugged plastic. Are you serious? Like, why is something like this not 100% made out of metal? This is a pickup, right? So let's say you're putting your boat in the water, you're a farmer, you're out in your field, and you grab and you twist this, and it breaks or bends, right? I mean, are you serious? This is heavy duty, built to last, pickup truck quality. If you're gonna have an air ride system, granted, if this bag blows out or, all the air, nitrogen leaks out of this thing, you're up shit creek. You got to go to the dealer and find a part if you can't. If it wasn't this fitting, what if it was a line? You have to go get it fixed. And then let's say you could find the fitting, you can't even recharge the damn thing by yourself in the first place. So that was a really super frustrating project. Obviously it was all good. I ended up getting it charged up, getting it back to the customer. Leveling kit looked pretty good, but it's like, I just don't understand why they are going this route with some of these products. I mean, this part's brass. Why couldn't you make this whole fitting nice and durable out of metal? Because they're cheap, because they want them to break, because they want you to go to the dealership? I don't know, but this kind of thing really pisses me off. I mean, this is heavy-duty pickup. Yeah, I don't think so. Last thing I wanted to show you, just a few cool little tools that we picked up. These guys are from a brand called Titan. Titan is all manufactured in Taiwan, and I know O'Reilly's carries them for sure, but we got a 180-degree swivel head on a little ratcheting bit driver. So this thing really comes in handy, nice and compact, nice and small. And then even cooler is the exact same design on a little 1/4-inch ratchet. I got a 10 mil socket on there right now, same thing, 180 degrees. What I really like about these is obviously they fit into really tiny, tight spaces. But let's say this is close, you go to undo a bolt, and after you get it loose, you just straighten out the handle. And then it's like a bit driver, right? So these guys, super handy. They sell them individually, at least at O'Reilly's, where I picked them up, and it was 17 bucks a piece. So really, really not a bad deal at all. I bet you Snap-on Mac has stuff like this, but I guarantee you it's more expensive. And I mean, you're not gonna be applying a lot of torque on something like this, and it's pretty well built. You can see nice metal construction. Doesn't look like it's going to fall apart on me anytime soon. If it does, I'd gladly buy another one for 17 bucks because these things have been awesome. Lastly, I made a trip down to the old Harbor Freight, and this was on the open box table. And oddly enough, you know, the outside of the box was beat up, but this thing wasn't even open. It's a 750 amp jump pack, right? Has a little light. Obviously, I know this thing's not going to be the best jump box in the world. I've had a few Harbor Freight ones before, and typically I get a couple years out of them, and they crap out. So I quit buying them. But this guy was on the open box table, not opened. I paid $35 for this. So I walked over down the aisle to see what they were actually priced at, and it was like 70 bucks. So I figured as a backup, I already have a good one, so why not, you know, 30 bucks. The open box section at Harbor Freight usually doesn't have anything I'm interested in. Either it's broken stuff or stuff with pieces missing. I don't know why this one was on there. You know, was it just not presentable enough because the cardboard box was all beaten up? They didn't want it on their shelf, but I essentially got this for half off. It has a little light on the front that's pretty much useless. This is where you plug it in. It's got cord storage, so you can take the cord out, put it in there. You always have it with you. You're not going to lose that. Got a little display to show you how much juice this thing actually has, and then it's got some USB ports and stuff like that. So for 35 bucks for something that's normally, you know, 70 bucks, I didn't think that was a bad deal. That's about all I had for this video, you guys. Hopefully this thing is out of here in a few days. If anything interesting happens, I will make sure to show it to you. Other than that, you guys, just kind of wanted to get you up to speed on what's going on in the shop, tell you about some of the interesting repairs that we've had. And then if you haven't seen any of the content regarding the Mountaineer, it was the last video that we posted on the channel, so go check that out. I picked up a 2000 5.0 V8 Mountaineer down from Utah. Really clean example. So we're doing that one in stages, just gonna try to make it look really nice and just have a nice little daily driver. Maybe we can do some overland type camping in, stuff like that. So you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I'll throw a picture right in here. Otherwise, you guys, thank you for stopping by, checking out the channel once again. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. Drop me a like down below. Leave a comment down in the comment section with any comments, questions, or concerns. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by, checking out the video, and we'll see you next time.